Hi everyone, welcome to week 3. It seems like we just started this class and we're approaching the halfway point. So welcome again to week 3. Last week we watched the video Welcome to Holland, and there was a very robust discussion about the video. I really appreciate all of the personal experiences people are sharing when you have them. I think that hearing about personal experiences as it connects to our learning really helps sort of make our learning more authentic, and gives you some insight as to real experiences and real feelings. So thank you to all of you that shared your personal experiences, whether it was your own experience as a parent or your experience in special ed, or as a teacher or in another field. It's very, very much appreciated. One thing I want to remind you, though, is that when you are doing your discussion posts, especially your initial response to the prompt, you're always going to be trying to tie that to your learning. And for the most part, you did. What you do need to do is have those references and citations so I know exactly what you're tying to. In the rubric, it says that you should have references and citations as required. And I just want to make sure everybody really understands that your initial response to the post should always have references and citations that show connections to your learning or any other research you've done. In this week, at minimum, everybody should have had the reference for the video because you were all referring to the video. If you have any questions about APA format or in-text citations or references, feel free to reach out. You can also reach out to the Writing Center. There's lots of excellent resources online as well. So just wanted to make sure you knew that. So for week 3, you are going to be really learning about inclusive classrooms, the benefits of inclusion. You're going to be watching some videos. One I especially love is Dan Habib, who is a documentary filmmaker. You're going to be looking at him from his perspective on segregation. You're going to be learning a little bit about students that are deaf and hard of hearing, and students with visual impairments, and also students with learning disabilities. You can, if you do have the supplemental text, you can look at chapters 2, 7, 11, 12, and 13. And there is also some optional information about what a speech impairment is. So again, go back to your table of contents and look at the Read, Watch, and Explore tabs, and make sure that as you're doing your discussions and your assignments, you cite any of those materials to be able to make connections, or again, any other research you may have done. So our discussion this week is we're going to really talk about dyslexia and auditory processing. I'm going to have you do some simulations. So you're going to try on a specific learning disability for dyslexia and for auditory processing, and then talk about what it felt like to try on that learning disability and how you think having a learning disability could impact a child's not only academics, but also their social and emotional development and their peer relationships, and the implications of having that kind of an invisible disability. Somebody with a learning disability isn't in a wheelchair. We don't see that they have a learning disability. So how do you think a person feels having that invisible disability? And how do you think within the education system and within families that really sort of operationalizes itself? And then think about accommodations and modifications you could suggest for a student with a specific learning disability. What accommodation or modifications can you suggest to help them access their education? And then make sure that you incorporate information from the learning materials and also additional research in your discussion. That's where your references and your citations come in. And feel free to do a video post. That can be a really neat experience. And then for our assignment, you will have 2 different options. So you're either going to prepare a brief 5 to 8 minutes, no more than 8-minute presentation for families and for gen ed teachers about the importance of an inclusive classroom. There are some prompts listed in the assignment. You're really going to propose how you're going to include a child with a significant physical disability in your classroom. And the difference between being in a classroom and being meaningfully included. So it's not just about access, being in the room, it's what happens in the room. And then think about adult services. I know that many teachers say you can put whoever you want in my room, just make sure they have a para, make sure they have an assistant. Think about how we could possibly be over supporting some students. Do all students need to have individual adult support? What kind of peer supports can be used? There is a tendency to over support children with disabilities with adults, and that can actually have some not great outcomes for children. They lose their independence. When a child is with an adult all the time, the other children and adults tend to speak to the adult more than the child. So there really are some considerations when you think about adult support. And think about that in the terms of being least restrictive. So what is the least amount of support you can supply to a child, adult support, and still have them make effective progress? And really think hard about jumping to that, either one-to-one or shared one-to-one. Is there anything that's between here and there, as opposed to just having a child Velcroed at the hip to an adult? And then again, use the information from this week's reading and any of your own research to support your thinking. Again, references and citations. If you don't want to do a presentation, and remember, if you do a presentation, there's got to be a narration. You can develop a poster or a handout for children and families and gen ed teachers about the importance of inclusive environments. Make sure you include the links to resources that families and teachers can access to do their own research. And some of you did that in your original posters in week 1. So it's a great strategy. Whether you do links or you do QR codes, I think that's great. And hopefully some of the work that you guys are doing, you'll be able to use in your professional capacity at some point. So if you have any questions for me, all of you know how to reach me. And I wish you a very lovely week, and I will see you again when I do my video post for week 4, or if you need me anytime before then. Take care and have a great week.